The night watch on the alien outpost began like any other. Soft blue lights, quiet halls, and a low hum of machines repeating the same calm tasks. Kira, a young technician with steady hands, sat before a wall of screens and said, "Another empty shift. I hope." And her partner Joe gave a small laugh and replied, "Empty shifts mean safe stars." They both wanted boring because boring meant peace. A long cargo route curved past their system, and every ship that crossed it left a clean trace on the scanners like a dotted line on glass. Easy to follow, easy to record, easy to forget. Tonight, however, a thin thread of static crawled across Kira's main screen, a small ripple that did not look like any dotted line. She leaned closer. "Joe, do you see that?" He rubbed his eyes and said, "Probably dust on the lens." The ripple sharpened, blinked away, and then blinked back even closer. "Dust does not move like that," Kira whispered. She sent a ping, the standard greeting signal for any vessel. The ping vanished into the void and came back empty. The thing out there did not answer and did not show a code. Joe straightened in his chair. "Try the long-range array," Kira tried. The ripple dodged the scan, the way a shadow dodges a hand. She felt her throat tighten. "It is something. And it does not want to be seen," they called the night captain. A tall woman named Rai walked in with a calm face that made everyone breathe a little easier. "Report," she said. Kira replayed the footage. The ripple looked like a scratch of darkness sliding along the route, never centered, never still. "Unregistered object," Joe said. "No IFF, no response, no known engine profile." "Trajectory?" Rai asked. Kira frowned. "It changes every time we look. It is like it reads our eyes." Rai nodded slowly and said, "Alert the outer beacons, wake the patrol, but do not provoke." She tapped the intercom. "All decks, level 2 readiness." The calm hum of the station shifted to a sharper tone. Doors sealed, lights brightened, and distant footsteps gathered into patterns of duty. Kira sent more pings, wide pulses, gentle tries. She added her own voice to the transmission. "Unknown vessel, this is Outpost Lumen. Identify." The speakers stayed silent. After a moment, a whisper of static brushed the channel, a sound so light it felt like breath. "Did you hear that?" Joe asked. "I heard something," Kira answered, like someone holding a secret. By the time the first patrol ship left the hangar, the ripple had vanished again. The patrol captain, a gruff veteran named Tor, sounded annoyed. "You dragged me from sleep for a ghost. I will sweep the route and come back laughing." Kira watched his ship become a single bright dot and said softly, "Please, come back laughing." The station's medical officer, a gentle old healer named May, stopped behind them with a cup of steaming broth. "When the stars whisper, listen kindly," she said. "Sometimes the whisper is a warning, sometimes it is a wish." Kira smiled without humor. "I would like a warning we can measure." The patrol ship reached the coordinates where the ripple had last appeared. Tor's voice crackled, "Nothing here." Then a second voice cut in, thin and broken. "It is here." The channel hissed. Screens flickered. Kira's hands flew across the console. "Tor, your position." "Repeating scan," Tor said, his voice now slow. "Wait." The camera feed snapped on for half a second and showed a black curve against emptiness, not a hull, not a silhouette, more like a hole where starlight should have been. Then the feed died. "Tor, respond," Rai ordered. Tor's voice returned, breathless. "It slid under me and over me at the same time. Never seen anything like it." Kira felt her skin prickle. "Captain, it is learning our scans. Every new pulse we send makes it shift again." Rai said, "Then stop shining light at a thing made of night." She turned to May. "Lock down civilian decks." To Joe, "Quiet the array and watch for passive heat." To Kira, "Find me a pattern in the silence." Kira dimmed the active scanners and listened. She filtered the noise until only a thin heartbeat sound remained, a slow thump and wait. "Thump and wait. It has rhythm," she said, "like a living thing." Joe leaned in. Or a machine that once learned from living things. Kira felt a strange thought rise. What if it is not hiding from us? What if it is hiding us from something worse? Joe blinked. From what? I do not know, Kira said. But listen. She widened the passive window and found the heartbeat echoing between 3 empty coordinates. The echoes were not random. They drew a triangle. There, she pointed. It is guiding us to look away from a shape in the middle. Rai folded her arms. Or it is pushing us into a trap. May's voice drifted from the doorway. Sometimes both can be true. The sea hides rocks and shows you waves. They mapped the triangle. In the center lay a dull region with low radiation, no traffic, nothing of value. Empty, Joe said. A perfect place for a trap. Rai sent a second patrol. 2 ships this time. Approach from opposite sides. Do not fire, do not speak. If you see something, do not blink. The ships swept in slow arcs. Kira watched their heat trails curve like paintbrush strokes on dark glass. They reached the center. Seeing nothing, one pilot said. Same, said the other. Then the first gasped. My starboard cam just went black. The second said, my port cam just went black. Kira's heart thudded. Opposite sides, opposite blind spots. It is between you. Form on me, the first pilot said. We will... His voice cut. The second pilot whispered, It feels like something just passed through me, May murmured. A shadow that does not cast a shadow. The lights across the outpost flickered. Kira's screens blinked twice and came back with a new symbol in the corner. It was small, a square with 3 diagonal marks. She did not add it. It was not in their system. Joe stared. What is that? Kira tilted her head. It looks like a human glyph from old archives. Earth origin, obsolete. We have no humans in this sector, Rai said, very calm now. Where did it come from? Kira tapped the symbol, and a narrow text field opened like a door. A single line wrote itself across the bottom. Do not send light. Joe swallowed. Who is speaking to us? Kira typed back slowly. Identify. The reply came in 3 words. Watcher, stand by. Rai nodded once. We stand by. Minutes crawled. The patrol ships reported that their cameras were fine again. But they felt watched by something that did not make light. The glyph flashed twice. New text appeared. Threat inbound. Kira's hands trembled. From where? The reply. Behind your sun. Kira pulled a star map and widened the passive field. At first there was nothing, then a low swell of waste heat, like a hot breath on cold glass. A pirate pack, 6 fast cutters hidden in the glare of the local star, angling toward the outpost. How did we miss that? Joe whispered. Rai did not speak. She pointed, and defense crews jumped, alarms blossomed, shields rose, turrets armed. The pirates broke cover, surprised to find the station awake, and fired. Blue fire hit the shields like thrown stones. The outpost shook. Return fire, Rai said. The turrets answered, clean lines of light. 3 cutters flinched, 3 kept coming, then every screen went dark for a heartbeat. When they returned, a black curve slid across the view, not a hull, not a form, just the place where stars were supposed to be. It drifted between the station and the incoming fire like a curtain of night. The pirate shots vanished into it and did not come out. The cutters swerved in panic. 1 exploded, 2 fled, 3 spun blind and were seized by local patrols. Rai exhaled. Whoever you are, she said to the empty air, we owe you. The glyph blinked again. A final line wrote itself, Do not send light. Your light is a lure. Predators follow it. Kira typed, Why help us? For a long moment there was only the soft heartbeat in the speakers. Then, Old treaty, old promise, protect the small fires, Kira whispered. Human words. May smiled with tired eyes. Humans always love small fires, Rai asked. Watcher, will you stay? The answer came, Relentless duty, merciless to hunters. Beyond control, not your enemy. The glyph faded. The black curve slid away and became a starless bruise on the horizon. Then nothing at all. The station lights warmed. The air steadied. The patrol ships returned with shaking voices and bright eyes. Joe laughed, a rough, relieved sound. We chased a ghost, and the ghost chased wolves. Kira touched the empty corner of her screen where the symbol had been. We did not find the signal. The signal found us. Rai placed a hand on Kira's shoulder and said, "Update the protocols. No more bright scanning. We will listen differently now." May raised her cup, steam curling like a gentle flag, to small fires that survive the wind. In the quiet after the storm, the outpost kept its watch. Not with louder lights, but with deeper listening. And somewhere in the dark, a shape that could not be traced turned its face toward another threat and moved on, as promised, relentless, merciless to the hunters, and not their enemy. The story of the untraceable ship spread across the galaxy like wildfire, in trading ports, soldiers' barracks, and even royal courts. The whispers were the same. A shadow that eats stars, some said. A human ghost ship, others swore. Panic spread faster than light. Merchants cancelled their routes, captains refused to fly, and whole colonies locked themselves down. Leaders gathered in tense councils, their voices sharp and desperate. In the capital hall of the Veyari Alliance, Chancellor Drovek slammed his hand against the table. We cannot allow panic to freeze trade. Our people will starve if cargo does not move. His advisors shifted nervously. One spoke. Chancellor, ships vanish in silence. No wreckage, no beacons. Only the last word, it is here. How do we fight what we cannot see? Drovek's eyes burned. Then we learned to see it. A young officer named Rin was called forward. He bowed quickly and said, Chancellor, I've studied the patrol reports, the object dodges active scans, but every survivor mentions the same sound, like a slow heartbeat in the speakers. If we build receivers tuned to that rhythm, we might follow it. The hall grew quiet. Advisors whispered among themselves. Drovek leaned forward. You want to chase the thing that is chasing us? Rin nodded. Yes, sir. Better to know the hunter than wait for its claws. Not far from the capital, on a mining colony, workers gathered in fear as another convoy vanished. Families shouted in the square, the council does nothing. They send ships to protect themselves. Not us. In the shadows, smugglers use the fear to gain power. Offering safe passage for triple the price, an old miner named Kor said bitterly, they are more merciless than the ghost itself, his daughter. A young woman named Leah whispered, what if the ghost ship is not here to hunt us? What if it is hunting something worse? The crowd laughed at her, but her words clung like smoke in the air. Meanwhile, Rin's plan moved forward. Engineers built deep-range sound arrays, tall spires planted on moons and empty stations. Late at night, Rin listened to the static, waiting. For hours there was nothing. Then, one evening, his array caught it, the soft thump. Thump-thump, a rhythm too slow for machines, too steady for nature. His chest tightened. It is here, he breathed. He sent the signal to his fleet. Mark this frequency. It may be the only way to see what does not wish to be seen. The first test came too soon. A caravan of grain freighters set out under heavy escort. Every gun bristled, every pilot alert. For 2 days, the journey was silent. On the third day, the heartbeat returned. A captain swore, it is beside us, I feel it. His cameras showed only stars, but the sound grew louder. The escorts fired warning flares. Bright bursts of light cut through the dark, and then the shadow moved. The freighters saw it first, a curve darker than space itself. Sliding between them, turrets locked on, but every shot missed as if the shadow bent around them. The fleet commander shouted, hold fire! Hold fire! But panic had already spread. A young pilot screamed, it is inside my sensors. It is erasing me. His ship spun out and vanished in a blink. The others broke formation, chaos ripping through the convoy. Then without warning, the pirate cutters appeared. 6 of them, sharp and hungry. They had hidden themselves behind the freighters, waiting for the shadow to cause confusion. Attack! Their leader roared. Blue fire struck the defenseless freighters. Hulls cracking, alarms wailed. The escorts tried to regroup, but the pirates had already cut deep. In the chaos, Leah's words proved true. The shadow did not strike the freighters. It struck the pirates. One cutter fired on a freighter, but its shot never landed. The energy vanished into the black curve that slid across the convoy. A second cutter tried to flee, but the shadow appeared before it, swallowing its light in minutes. 3 cutters were gone, the rest scattering in terror. On the freighter bridge, Captain Yori stared wide-eyed. "It saved us," he whispered. His first officer shook his head. "No, it destroyed them, not for us, for itself." The heartbeat sound echoed louder. Then, as suddenly as it came, it faded away, leaving only silence and the drifting wrecks of pirate ships. Back at the capital, the council reviewed the recordings. Advisors argued, "It is merciless, it destroys without warning." No, it defends against the true threat. Drovek silenced them all with a raised hand. The truth is simple, it is beyond control. Not ours to command, not ours to fight. It will decide when to appear. And we must learn to live under its shadow. In the quiet that followed, Rin spoke. "Chancellor, people believe it is human." The room stilled. Drovek asked, "Do you believe it?" Rin hesitated. "The glyphs found on the outpost were human design. The rhythm, the silence, the relentlessness, it feels human, or at least built by human hands long ago." Leah, watching the council meeting through a public broadcast, whispered to her father, "If it is human, maybe it remembers promises. Maybe it fights so small fires like ours. Do not go out," her father grunted. "Or maybe it just cannot stop." But Leah looked to the stars, hope flickering in her eyes. That night, as the stars burned quietly above countless worlds, the heartbeat returned, faint, steady, and everywhere. Those who listened carefully could hear it in the static. A warning, a promise, or perhaps both. The galaxy did not know. But one truth was certain: the untraceable ship was out there. Relentless, merciless, and far beyond anyone's control. The galaxy grew restless. Every new trade route felt cursed. Ships that once carried food, medicine, or fuel were vanishing without warning. No distress beacons, no wreckage, just silence. Families waited at ports for loved ones who never returned. Rumors spread like fire. "The ghost ship takes them," some whispered, others claimed. "It is the humans' revenge." On Outpost Lumen, Kira still worked long nights at the scanners. She could not forget the words she had seen on her screen. "Do not send light." The memory haunted her. Joe walked in with 2 cups of hot broth and set one by her side. "You have not slept," he said. She gave a tired smile. Sleep feels useless when the dark is alive. Their captain, Rai, entered with a firm step. "Council has ordered us to keep the trade lanes open," she announced. "We will monitor every convoy. We will prove that fear cannot rule the stars," Joe muttered. "Unless the fear swallows us first," Rai ignored him, though the tension in her eyes betrayed her own doubt. A week later, a massive convoy gathered, 10 freighters, 6 escorts and 2 patrol cruisers. It was meant to be a show of strength. Merchants cheered as they launched. Hoping safety would finally return, Kira and Joe listened through the comms. At first, everything seemed calm. Then came the sound, soft but steady. Thump, thump, thump. Joe's face paled. "It is back," one freighter captain panicked. "Something is beside me," his voice trembled. "My sensors read nothing, but I feel it watching," another shouted. "Do not look, do not scan, just move." Chaos rippled through the convoy. The escorts tried to calm them. "Hold formation, do not break ranks." But fear spread faster than orders. Suddenly one of the freighters went silent. Its lights vanished, its engines cut. The convoy commander shouted, "Freighter 7! Respond!" Nothing came back. Just a single crackle of static, then a scream. "It is inside my ship." The channel died. Kira covered her mouth. "It takes them alive," she whispered. Rai kept her voice steady. "Focus! Track the others! We cannot lose more." But even as she spoke, another freighter winked out of existence. No explosion, no debris, simply gone. Panic exploded. The remaining freighters scattered in all directions, breaking formation. The escorts tried to chase them, but the dark curve moved faster, sliding from one ship to another. swallowing them like a predator choosing prey. One escort captain shouted, "We are firing!" Turrets blazed into the void. Light cut across the stars for a moment. They thought they hit something, until the beams bent and vanished. Swallowed by the shadow, the captain screamed, "Our weapons do nothing." In the middle of the chaos, when Freighter managed to launch escape pods, Kira locked onto their signals and gasped. "We have survivors." The pods tumbled toward a nearby moon. The escorts turned to protect them. The shadow followed, but then paused. It hovered over the drifting pods, as if examining them. Inside one pod, a miner named Eno clutched the radio. His voice broke through. "If anyone hears me, listen carefully. It is not attacking us. It is searching." Static drowned him out, but the last word came clear. "Human." The pods landed safely, shaking but alive. The survivors were rushed back to Outpost Lumen. Everyone gathered to hear their story. Eno sat pale and trembling. "It came into our ship, not with fire, not with guns. It pulled the light from the walls. Every shadow stretched until the whole ship was dark. I heard whispers in the black, not alien, not machine. Human voices." The room froze. Joe asked, "What did they say?" Eno shivered. "They kept repeating, 'Protect the small fires.'" "Like a prayer." Ree's eyes narrowed. "The same words from the outpost message." Kira leaned forward. "Then it is not just hunting, it has a purpose." But Eno shook his head. "Purpose or not, it took the freighter and everyone on board." "They are gone." The council demanded answers. Some claimed the shadow was a weapon left from humanity's lost wars. Others said it was a curse, a machine gone mad. Still, a few believed it was a guardian, attacking only when true threats approached. The arguments grew violent. Trust between worlds began to crumble. One night, Kira sat alone, staring at the silent scanners. Joe joined her quietly. "Do you think it is protecting us or hunting us?" She answered softly. "Maybe both. Maybe that is what makes it so terrifying." Then, without warning, her console lit up. The glyph appeared again. The same human marks. A new message wrote itself. Next. "The hunters come." Joe leaned over her shoulder. "Hunters? What hunters?" Kira whispered. "Not us." Something worse. Before they could react, an alert blared across the station. Long-range sensors picked up a fleet moving through the outer rim. Dozens of warships, armed and fast, bearing the colors of the Yelkar raiders, known for burning colonies to ash. Rye's face turned pale. "They are heading straight for the trade lanes." The glyph blinked once more. A final line appeared. "Stand down. We will engage." The shadow had chosen its prey. The council may have debated. Captains may have panicked. But the truth was clear. Something older, darker. And Merciless was already moving into position. The galaxy braced for a clash it could not control, and as the stars trembled, one thought echoed in every mind. The Untraceable ship was not finished. Not by far. It was only beginning its hunt. The council chamber was filled with sharp voices and restless feet. News of the Yelkar raider fleet had shaken every world. They were ruthless pirates who burned colonies, stole children, and left nothing but smoke. Now they were moving straight for the trade lanes, and no one believed the escorts could stop them. Chancellor Drovek slammed the table. "We must gather every fleet we have. If the raiders reach our core worlds, we are finished," an advisor whispered. "And what of the ghost ship, Chancellor? Some say it already moves to fight them," Drovek growled. "We cannot trust shadows. We trust only steel and fire." On Outpost Lumen, Ira listened to the broadcasts with cold hands. Joe leaned over her shoulder. "If the ghost ship faces the raiders, do you think it will win?" Kira shook her head. "It is one ship, no matter how strong. The raiders are hundreds." Captain Rye stood behind them. Arms folded. "I am not so sure." Her voice was low but steady. "Sometimes one blade in the dark is sharper than an army." That night, the glyph returned to Kira's screen. It pulsed with 3 words. "Do not interfere," she typed back quickly. "They will kill thousands." "We cannot stand aside." The reply came like a hammer. "Beyond control, do not send light," Joe muttered. "It always says that." Kira stared at the message. "Maybe because light reveals us. And it is not only watching the raiders. Maybe it is hiding us too. Meanwhile, in the cold expanse of the outer rim, the Yelkar fleet cut across the stars. Their leader, Warlord Van, stood at the bridge window. His grin sharp as steel. The lanes are weak. The escorts are frightened. We will take their freighters, burn their stations, and make the galaxy kneel, his second-in-command asked. And what of the stories, the untraceable ship? Van laughed. A cruel sound. Ghosts do not kill fleets. We do. The first clash came near the moon of Iranth. Escorts tried to block the raiders, but Van's ships ripped through them like paper. Colonies sent distress calls. Help us. Please. Entire families fled into old bunkers, hoping the steel walls would save them. In the chaos, a strange silence fell. Sensors dimmed, lights flickered, and the stars themselves seemed to vanish. A lookout cried, "Commander, something is here." The raiders' forward ship suddenly went dark. Engines failed, lights blinked out. Their crews screamed through the comms. "It is inside the hull. Shadows everywhere," Van snarled. "Fire everything." Hundreds of guns spat fire into the void. But their blasts bent away and disappeared, swallowed before reaching any target. A black curve slid across the battlefield, vast and silent. From the outpost, Kira and Joe watched the live feeds. Every channel showed chaos. Raider ships spun helpless, some colliding with each other. "It is tearing them apart without touching them," Joe whispered. Rai's face was unreadable. "It is not just fighting. It is hunting." Van's command ship shook as his crew shouted. "Shields are gone. Weapons useless. It is behind us," Van roared. "Cowards, fight back." But the black curve passed over them, and the command ship's cameras showed nothing but endless dark. Crewmen clawed at their consoles, screaming about voices in the static. "They are human," one cried before the feed cut. The Yelkar fleet broke apart in terror. Ships scattered in all directions. Many collided or self-destructed in desperation. A few managed to escape into the deep void. But most were gone, swallowed without fire or wreckage. Only silence remained, back in the council chamber. The news was met with stunned silence. An advisor whispered, "One ship destroyed an entire fleet," another said. "It was Merciless, they begged, and it did not stop." Drovek's hands trembled. "Beyond control," he muttered. "It answers to no one." At Outpost Lumen, the glyph returned one last time. "Threat neutralized. Remain silent. Protect the small fires," Kira typed. "Who are you?" The reply came slowly. "Relentless, merciless to hunters, guardian of promises." Then the screen went dark. Joe let out a shaky laugh. "So it is true. It was human, or at least born of them," Kira whispered. "But it is not alive like us. It cannot choose mercy. It only follows its command," Rai said quietly. "Perhaps that is why it wins. It does not fear, it does not doubt. It does not stop." That night, as the stars stretched quiet and calm again, families crawled out of bunkers and merchants dared to relaunch their ships. They whispered thanks not to the council, not to the fleets, but to the silent shadow that had saved them. Still, fear lingered in their hearts. For the same truth echoed in every mind. The untraceable ship was not theirs, not anyone's. It moved with a purpose no one could change. And while it had saved them today, tomorrow its judgment might fall elsewhere. The galaxy had witnessed power beyond anything it knew. A protector or a curse, no one could say. But one thing was certain. The shadow had spoken its truth with silence and destruction. It was relentless, merciless, and forever beyond control. The galaxy tried to breathe after the fall of the Yelkar raiders. Colonies reopened their trade lanes, merchants returned to the stars, and leaders spoke of peace. Yet the relief was shallow. For everyone knew the truth. It had not been the fleets or the councils that saved them. It had been the shadow, the ship that could not be traced. And it belonged to no one. On Outpost Lumen, Kira sat with her hands pressed against the console, staring at the blank corner of the screen where the glyph used to appear. Joe walked in carrying a bundle of reports. 3 more convoys cancelled their runs, he said. "No one trusts the lanes, even with the raiders gone." "The fear remains," Kira whispered, "because the shadow is still out there. They do not know if it will protect them or take them." Captain Rye entered with firm steps. "The Council has ordered us to gather testimony from survivors. They want to understand what happened," Joe snorted. "They want to control what they cannot." Rye gave him a sharp look but said nothing. The survivors of the raids were brought to the outpost. Among them was Eno, the miner who had once heard whispers inside the darkness. His eyes looked older now, his voice soft and careful. It was not only destruction, he told them. The voices said the same thing again and again. "Protect the small fires," Kira leaned forward. "And you believe it meant us, our colonies?" "Our people," Eno's gaze drifted. Maybe it meant something else. Something far older. That night the glyph returned. 2 words flashed across Kira's screen. "Threat remains," she typed quickly. "What threat?" The answer came. "Within," Joe frowned. "Within what?" "Within our systems, our fleets." The glyph pulsed once more. Council compromised, and then vanished. The words spread like poison through the station. Could it be true? Had the Council been infiltrated? Rye ordered silence. "No one outside this room hears of this." But already whispers ran through the lower decks. The next day, Chancellor Drovek himself arrived at the outpost. His presence was heavy, flanked by guards. "We are grateful for your service," he said coldly. "But this station has drawn too much attention from now on. All signals about the Untraceable ship will be routed directly to the Council." Kira froze. "Council compromised." The words echoed in her mind. She glanced at Joe, who avoided her eyes. Late that night, alarms blared. One of the outer listening towers had gone dark. A young officer shouted, "No signs of attack." "System shut down from inside," Rye demanded. "Where are the guards?" The answer came. "Gone, all of them." Kira's heart pounded. She rushed to her console, and the glyph appeared again. "Do not trust the Chancellor." Moments later, Drovek stormed into the control room. "Shut down those scanners," he ordered. "Your work here is over." Rye stood her ground. "On whose command?" Drovek's eyes burned. "On mine." His guards raised their weapons. For a heartbeat, silence filled the room. Then the lights flickered. The heartbeat sound returned. Slow and steady, thump, thump, thump. The guards froze, their weapons shaking. The room grew colder, darker, as if the walls themselves were swallowed by shadow. Kira whispered, "It is here." A black curve filled the viewing glass, larger than ever before. It hovered over the outpost, silent, merciless. The glyph pulsed across every screen. "Lies exposed," Drovek shouted in fury. "You cannot command this ghost." "It is nothing," but the glyph answered. "You betrayed the fires." The guards dropped their weapons, terror etched on their faces. The shadow moved, not against the outpost, but against Drovek's personal ship docked outside. In one breath the vessel collapsed into darkness. Crushed without sound, the Chancellor fell to his knees. "Wait, I did it for power, not for destruction." His plea went unheard. The glyph blinked one last message, merciless to hunters, and then the shadow slid away into the stars. Silence filled the station. No one moved. Rye spoke first, her voice low. "The Council was compromised, and it knew," Joe whispered. "It judges leaders as well as raiders." Kira sat frozen. "Then no one is safe. Not us, not them. Not if we ever betray what it protects." Eno's voice trembled from the corner. "It is not a ghost. It is a warning made into steel. As long as we light fires, it will watch if we betray them. It will come, that night across the galaxy." Word spread of the Chancellor's death. Some called it justice, others called it murder. But all agreed on one thing: the Untraceable ship was no legend. It was real, it was relentless, and it chose its own enemies on Outpost Lumen. Kira stared at the silent stars and whispered, "How long before it judges us?" Rye placed a hand on her shoulder. "Then we must never give it reason." Yet in the quiet of her heart, Kira wondered if reason mattered at all. For the ship was beyond control, bound only to its ancient command, and somewhere far from their sight, the shadow drifted, waiting for the next betrayal. Relentless, merciless, and forever watching. The outpost felt different after the Chancellor fell. Not louder, not quieter, just heavier, like everyone had learned the same hard secret at once. Kira stood at the viewport with Joe and watched dock lights blink in the dark. "People want rules," he said. "But the thing that saved us does not follow rules." She nodded. "It follows a promise, and promises can be sharper than laws." Captain Rye entered with measured steps and said, "A provisional council has formed. They promised transparency. They promised to listen." Joe gave a tired smile. "We have all learned to listen." Near midnight, the glyph returned, not on one console, but on every screen. It pulsed slow, like breath, and wrote a single line, "Come and listen." Rye frowned. "A trap could use kind words," Kira whispered. "So can a rescue." The message shifted to coordinates. "A dead sector beyond charted trade. No escorts," it added. "No lights," Joe exhaled and said. "It wants us alone." Rye looked from the stars to her crew. "We go, but we go careful." They took a small survey ship. Stripped of beacons and bright scans, Eno asked to come, and Rye allowed it. "You heard its voices once," she said. "If it speaks again, you might recognize the tone." The launch was quiet. Only the gentle clink of clamps releasing and the shiver of engines warming. Kira dimmed everything to minimum. "We are a shadow," she said. Joe grinned weakly. "Then the dark will not see us." Eno rubbed his hands and murmured, "It always sees." For hours they floated in silence. Listening, the speakers carried only the soft hum of emptiness. Then the heartbeat returned. Slow and patient, thump, thump, thump. It did not come from one place. It came from everywhere around them. "We are inside it," Joe whispered. Rye kept her voice level. "Hold course." Their destination rose like a broken coin against a charcoal sea. An old ring station cracked and turned, half buried in a field of frozen dust. Its surface carried the scars of long travel and older storms. Kira pulled up ancient registry files and said, "Human design, way beyond our age. But it looks like it was set to drift." The glyph appeared across their canopy. "Anchor of promises," Eno breathed. "So this is where the words were kept." A docking umbilical extended without sound, meeting their hull with a soft kiss. "No atmosphere on the scans," Joe said. "But the corridor reads stable." Rye checked her suit seals and said, "No weapons. If it invited us, it will decide if we are safe." Together they crossed, boots touching a floor that felt too old to belong to anything living. The walls held a dull sheen, like dark water. Kira touched a panel and felt a low warmth. "It is not dead," she said. "It is asleep." The corridor opened into a small chamber with a single pedestal. On it lay a thin plate of glass, beneath it a symbol, the same square cut with 3 diagonal lines. The glyph rose from the pedestal and flowed across the wall like oil. "Stand by," it wrote. Joe swallowed. "We have been standing by for weeks." The chamber dimmed. A voice entered the air, not from speakers, not from suits, but from the metal itself. "Protocol Watcher, active," the voice said, soft, human, worn with age. "Designation Anchor 12, oath memory intact." Eno took a step forward and whispered. "Who are you?" the voice replied. "I am not a person. I'm the remembering of a promise," Rye said. "This remembering has killed raiders and a chanceless ship," the voice answered. "Predators were marked, predators were engaged." "Small fires were protected," Kira asked. "What are the small fires?" the voice paused. "Children, villages, little hopes. Slow ships carrying bread, hands that lift others. Songs that keep people from breaking. These are small fires." Joe's eyes softened. "You learned to speak like us," the voice said. "Humans taught me, and I kept the words." Kira asked the question that lived at the core of every rumor. "Are there humans still alive?" The chamber held its breath. Then came the answer, "Yes and no. The ones who built me are gone. But the work they loved still breathes. Therefore they are not gone." Eno wiped at his visor. "You speak like a priest and a machine," the voice replied. "Humans were both when they made me." An alarm flashed on Kira's wrist. A ship had just entered the sector. Not friend, not raider, something else. Rye checked the passive feed and said, "A black market cruiser. It has our last known coordinates. Someone on the Provisional Council leaked our path." Joe cursed under his breath. "They want the anchor. They want to wear the ghost like a crown." The station shivered. The pedestal brightened. Test, the voice said. Predator incoming. Response options. The wall showed 3 choices. Call fleets. Become light. Stay dark. Rye frowned. Explain, the voice said. If you call fleets, the predator will change shape and escape, and many will die. If you become light, you will scare it into firing first. If you stay dark, it will come close, and I will act. But you may be harmed. Joe looked to Kira. We choose who gets hurt, Eno whispered. Small fires do not live under flares. They live under hands. Kira took a breath that trembled and said, Stay dark. Rye nodded once. Agreed. Joe nodded too. Agreed. Eno closed his eyes. Agreed. The panel dimmed. Choice recorded, the voice said. You speak like the ones who left me here. The black market cruiser slipped into the field like a knife. Its captain sent a broad signal, bright and taunting. This station is ours, he said. Surrender archives or we take your breath. Rye kept their ship silent. Their lights off, their words held tight inside their teeth. The cruiser unfolded claws, grapples reaching for the anchor. The heartbeat thickened. Hold, the voice murmured. Hold! At the last possible moment, the station's skin changed. It did not shine, it did not flash, it simply refused light. The space around the pedestal thickened like night rain. The cruiser's claws sank into absence and stuck like flies in amber. What is this? The captain screamed. He fired every gun, but there was nothing to hit. The anchor whispered, Protocol Watcher. Designation Ghost 12, engage. A black curve slid across the cruiser's windows. Not outside, but inside. The crew saw their reflections swallowed and vanished. The ship coughed, engines tripped. Weapons fell silent. The captain offered money, then offered mercy, then offered lies. The anchor said, Merciless to hunters, and the cruiser went limp. Its power dragged into the still water of the station's skin. Its crew staggered, sat, and began to cry like tired children. Kira felt tears slip down her own face. You could have killed them, she said. You did not, the voice replied. Predators who can be made to stop are not yet beyond saving. Rye bowed her head. And those who cannot, the chamber cooled by a breath. They are answered. The pedestal pulsed again. You chose to stay dark. You accepted harm to protect more lives, it said. This is what the oath means. A new symbol formed on the glass. A simple spiral like a fingerprint. Take this key, the voice continued. It does not command me. It does not own me. It calls me to listen when small fires falter. Kira touched the glass, and the spiral marked her palm with a faint warmth. Who else hears this call? She asked. The voice answered, Others like me, sleeping in the black, not many, but enough to matter when the wind rises. Joe smiled through weary eyes. Ghosts do not travel alone. They returned to the survey ship with the key in Kira's hand and the heartbeat in their ears. The anchor released the trapped cruiser into the custody of a patrol beacon it had quietly awakened. They will face law, not fire, the voice said. Teach your councils to listen. Teach them to keep trade dim and watchful. Teach them not to wave light for wolves to chase, Rye said. We will try, the voice replied. Try is how fires begin. As they undocked, Kira glanced back. Will we see you again? The walls hummed one last time. When you listen, it said, you always see me. Then the chamber darkened, and the anchor turned to stone and memory. The flight home was quiet. Stars slipped by like sleeping towns. Joe finally spoke. Do you think the galaxy will believe any of this? Rye gave a small laugh. They will believe the parts that scare them and forget the parts that save them. Eno leaned forward. Then we must speak often. Kira looked at the faint spiral on her palm and said, We will speak and we will listen, and when small fires shake, we will call the dark and ask it to stand with us. Back at Outpost Lumen, crews met them with wide eyes and careful hands. The Provisional Council sent questions, but the outpost answered first with new rules written on soft paper and hard steel. Listen before you look, dim before you shine. Protect small fires before you protect pride. That night, as families along the lanes boiled tea and folded sails and told stories to calm old fears, a slow heartbeat lay behind the static. gentle, patient, and near, somewhere in the dark. A ship that could not be traced turned its face to the next wind and moved on. Relentless to hunters, merciless to those who prey, but tender to small fires that refused to die.